on? Alright, so basically today what I wanted to do was go through and show you guys how to build your own Linux distribution using the Chroot method. Those of you who do not know what Chroot method is basically going through and changing your root directory and then and installing programs into a different root directory essentially, and then from there compressing that directory into a squashfs system and then moving it into another folder directory system that will be your ISO. Okay, we'll go into that a little bit further here, but what we're going to want to do first is go ahead and download a Linux distribution. I'm going to be using Ubuntu Mini Remix because Ubuntu Mini Remix is the lightest version out there that you can get. It's very simplified, it's very easy to access, etc. So you're going to be able to go through and build from the ground up. You can do this method with any distribution. You can be pretty certain you can do it with an Arch system. You can do it with a Gentoo system. I'm quite certain. It's all all around that. Okay, so you're going to want to go through and get the Mini Remix version. I recommend doing the even numbered versions that are 04, ending in 04. So 1404, 1204, 1604, etc. For this example in this video, I will be using Ubuntu Mini Remix 1510 64-bit version, which is AMD 64. They will be releasing the Ubuntu 1604 version, which is LTS, or long-term support, in a couple of days, and I highly recommend using that version. But for this demonstration's purpose, I'm just going to go ahead and use the 1510. Okay, and the reason why I recommend using the 04 even numbered versions is because it's long-term support, which means that they don't lose support after a couple of years, which means that you can build your distribution and not have to mess with it down the road. Okay. So once you go through and get that ISO downloaded, what we're going to want to do is build our directory structure for how we're going to work with this ISO. And I have two directories here. One is build items and one is build environment. Build items directory is the directory that contains all my settings, all my shell scripts, all my information and notes, sounds, etc. Okay, this is where I've saved my work, so that when I want to rebuild the distribution, I can copy over these settings without having to worry about any problems. Okay, so highly recommend you guys start getting on that. It will take time, but it's definitely well worth it when you do it the second time around, because it'll be easier the second time around. Things like you create a shell script to build the distribution or install all the software that you want to install immediately is very helpful. So highly recommend doing that. The second directory is the build environment, and the build environment, I think you guys can guess what it is. This is where we're going to be working with our building of the environment, i.e. we're going to have another subfolder there called ISO, and then in ISO is where you're going to extract your ISO that you have downloaded, i.e. Ubuntu Mini Remix in this example. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually go into Ubuntu the ISO, and I'm going to go to my Mini Remix ISOs here and mount the 1510 ISO. You guys will need to mount it. You can use the mount command, or you can use your udev processes if you have udev installed, etc. Or you could use your file manager. All those things are open to you. Figure out which one you want to use and go for that. Okay. Once you have the ISO mounted, do a Control H into the Control H when you're in the directory, and then highlight everything. It's very important you do Control H and highlight everything, because if you don't get .disk, it will not boot properly, your ISO. So get everything and just simply copy, and then we're going to paste it into the ISO. So go ahead and paste it. When we're done with pasting, I'm going to actually go ahead and move over, and I'm going to unmount it. You're done with the ISO that you downloaded, so you can unmount it. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to close that off. And then I've got two ISOs. I don't need this ISO version. Okay, and I have my two directories, my ISO and my build items. Okay. Now, what you're going to want to do is go through and you're going to need to go through and go to the Casper folder within your ISO. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to be moving filesystem.squashfs. Okay. Open up a terminal within the directory that you have, and open up a terminal there, or cd to that directory location, and then just do sudo mv filesystem.squashfs, okay, and then ///. That would be meaning move the directory up, that file 2 directories up. I'm going to type in my password. and we're good to go. The reason why we're moving it rather than CPing it is because we're going to need to get rid of that file system.squashfs file anyway from this location, and so it's just better to move it now instead. Okay. Once we have moved it, if you go ahead and actually go back up into the directory, you'll see that you do have your file system.squashfs right next to your ISO folder. Okay. I do have a terminal already opened up for this location, so what you're going to want to do is sudo unsq. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not going to do that yet. Now you need to go through and get the programs that are necessary for this to run properly. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to type in sudo apt-get install. Okay, and then you're going to type in squashfs-tools, okay, genisoimage, syslinux, syslinux, and I believe that is it. I'm just going to go double check my notes because, oh yeah, Xnest. And Xnest. Xnest. Yes, good, okay. And that is all that you're going to install. So sudo apt-get install squashfs tools genisoimage syslinux Xnest. Okay? Type in your password. It's going to go through. I have this already installed, so I do not need to worry about it. Okay? Now, a little explanation of what's going on here. Squashfs tools allows you to unsquash file systems, okay? Genisoimage will allow you to generate ISO images, and syslinux is going to be part of the whole genisoimage booting and making and manipulation stuff. Xnest is a clever way of basically being able to do graphical things within your Chroot environment, so that you can go through and modify settings and or use something in that Chroot environment. So it's really helpful to be able to use that. Okay. So once we're done with that, what we're going to do is actually set up the Xnest so that you can go through and use it. Type in cap x nest, okay, tac ac :10 tac geometry. Now, geometry is going to be the width and height of your screen. Okay, my resolution is 1920 by 1080, so that's what I will be using. Yours may be 1280 by 720, or 1600 by 900, 1440 by 720. You get the point. You need to pick your geometry for what your resolution is. 20x1080, 1920 by 1080. And as you see, we have the Xnest session started up. I'm going to close this up actually. I'm going to rerun that command and use ampersand. Ampersand will allow it to run in as a background process essentially. And I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to shrink this. Okay. Now that you're ready to unsquash the file system. So sudo unsquash unsquashfs file system.squashfs. So you just type in sudo unsquashfs file system.squashfs. The file system.squashfs is a compressed file system. Literally just that. It's a file system. It is actually what you normally see within your root directory. So if I go ahead and press the plus key over here and go home, go up a directory, you see that this is my root directory, okay? And that's the exact same concept as your squashfs or file system, okay? So that's what we're going to be Chrooting into. This is what we're going to be Chrooting into and working with, okay? Once you've done that, what we're going to do now is need to set up the Chroot command so that we can have proper interaction with the environment. To do that, what we're going to do is I'm going to do Control L. You're going to now need to do sudo mount tac/t /proc/proc/. And in fact, though, I need to cd ampersand I'm drawing a blank. Squashfs root squashfs root. Yep. So cd squash. Yep. CSQ. Hello. Build environment. SQ. Boy. Oh. I had the ampersand in front instead. Oops. Okay, so cd squashfs tac root ampersand sudo mount tac t proc / proc / Okay, and we're good to go for that. Now, we're going to do then, we're going to basically retake this command, but Control U to clear that out. Sudo mount tac t sysfs sys, and then lastly tac o bind /dev /. That's not proper. And then sudo mount tac o bind dev. Okay, so what this command is doing is basically it's setting up your process and system files as well as development files and mounting it essentially to the same locations as this Chroot section. Okay, so that allows you to go through and have your host system interacting and functioning in part for the Chroot environment. And the tac-t option is basically saying what type it is, and then the tac-o and bind is basically binding that dev directory so that you can properly interact with the builds, etc. Okay. Once you've done that, you're good to go to Chroot. So actually you're not yet. You can, but you shouldn't. So what you need to do now is sudo cp /etc res tab.conf, so resolv.conf, and we're going to just do etc /. Okay, and what that does is it sets it so that your system can have internet access and actually download files, etc. Once you've done that, you're now ready to do sudo chrot.bash. This is a bit of an important command. And the reason why I'd say it's a little bit important is because this should be taken note of. Bash may not be part of your distribution that you're working with. For instance, and I can't really think of anything that may not have bash, but let's say maybe there's an Arch distribution that you're working with and it does not have bash. You will need to specify to the system what shell environment it needs to use. You're generally okay if you use sh, okay, or possibly ASH, okay, but we're going to use bash because bash is present for Ubuntu, but it's going to be whatever shell environment is available for that distribution you're going to want to use. But shell is usually the safest, but since I know that Ubuntu has bash, I'm going to use bash, okay. So do sudo chroot dot, which means local directory, and bash. Once we're done, you will see that the prompt has changed, and now it says root at abaddon : /. Okay, and this is not your root directory. This is, well, it is a root directory, but it's not your system's root directory. So don't be worried about that. You're now rooted properly into the environment to begin working with it. Okay. Now what we want to do is we need to actually get the source lists. Okay. Ubuntu Mini Remix, anyway, in this instance, has a very limited source list, and so we're going to go through and I'm going to get the source lists, a source list for it, so that we can improve upon the installation. So I'm going to select Wiley 1510, supported until July 2016. This is all an example, so it doesn't matter. We're going to just check mark all these options. Now, this is the Ubuntu source list generator, the website. I will provide a link down below. It's a wonderful website. It's got multiple other PPAs and repos available. So highly recommend checking it out for your distribution. To mention so quickly as well, Debian, they do have a Debian source list generator. So if you're going to create a Debian distribution instead, you can do so using that too if you have any, if you need to update it, or if you need to just extend the PPA selection for the Debian system that you're creating. Okay, I'm going to select all of these, so canonical partners, etc. And you're good to go. Scroll all the way to the very bottom, and it's going to generate the source list. Here it is. I'm going to highlight, or I'm going to do Control A to highlight, and then Control C to copy, and then minimize that. And then if we do sudo nano, I'm sorry, no sudo, you don't need sudo, it won't work anyway because it won't resolve. So just nano /etc /apt, and then SOU tab to autocomplete, and it will do sources.list. So nano etc apt sources.list. Control C, Control What? Unable to create directory home abaddon.nano from no such file directory. It is required to have load search directories for course positions. Sudo mount t sysfs. Oh, I missed a proc. Wait, no, I didn't. Mount t proc. Sysfs sys. I'll just press enter to continue. Okay. I don't know what was the issue with that, but that's okay. I'm going to go through now. And since I'm using nano, you can use VI, do whatever you want to. I'm going to use nano. I'm going to use Control K to delete these, and then Control Shift V to enter the new selection of the list. Control Enter, and Control X. Oh, I know why. I know why it gave me that error. We now have it set up with a proper source list and all that, but what we need to do, and what we should have done, is set up some environment variables. Let's go ahead and do that by doing exp ort, okay, home equals / root export display equals :0, and lc underscore all equals cap c. Okay, what this command does is, first off, it tells the root environment you're going to work within the root directory as your home directory. Your display is going to be set to :10, which is what we set when we set the Xnest command. Okay, and then the export lcal is, as I understand it, the compiler. The compiler type, so it's going to be the C compiler, so that when you need to generate a program, or you're installing a program, it knows what compiler to use. Okay, now you're good to go. You have internet, you have your Chroot, you have an updated source list generator, etc. Now what we're going to do is we're going to install some of the necessary components that's going to make your system actually function and work properly. So what we're going to want to do is first apt-get install, okay, xinit, xserver, tech xorg, aptitude, tasksel, synaptic, and apt-xapian tech index, and upgrade apt-get update. That would be helpful too. I'm a little bit now in a hurry, I guess. Sorry guys. I've done this video a couple of times, and things have gone awry, and it's been frustrating, and it's like I did it the first time and everything's great, and now every time I do something, it's like I for instance ran task select and I fucked myself over that way, and then I did some other things where I messed up at the Etsy folder. It's just it's a bit of a cluster fudge. Anyway, we now have it updated. We can rerun the command apt-get install xinit, xserver, tech zorg, aptitude, taskcell, synaptic, apt-xapian, I think that's XAPIAN. I'm going to double check my notes, quite frankly, because I don't want to have to... Yep, good. And apt Xappian index. So, what are these programs? Xinit, Xserver, Zorg, and Zorg are for your GUI. It's all for your GUI. It's all for getting your graphical interface working. Xinit initializes the Xserver systems. Xserver Zorg is part of your server systems for graphical interfacing, and Zorg is just part of that Xserver and all that too. Aptitude is a better package management that you can use from the command line. It can be necessary to use this when you're building your distribution and you have conflicts. Task Select is optional though. What Task Select does is it allows you to run it and then allows you to basically install basic distribution types. So if I go ahead and open up a new tab and actually I do a Google search for Task Select, I can do TASKSEL Linux, and then I can show you an image of what it kind of does, which is basically here. This is what Task Select does. It says, you know, basic Ubuntu server, mail server, Postgres server, a lot of server types, but you can do other things. You don't have to do just that. You can install a standard generic XFCE interface. You can install a standard LXDE system, etc. So this is just something that's really helpful, you know, for building up your distribution if you want to, you know, get some predefined functionalities and setups. Okay, that's what Task Select is, or Task SEL. Okay, so I'm not going to use Task Cell, but I wanted to point that out so that you guys could look into that. Okay, I'm going to though use these options. So Aptitude, Synaptic. Oh, Synaptic is another package management system, a lot better. It's a graphical one that you can use with your system, and it's just if you want to build your Linux distribution up that way, Synaptic will help you because we can pipe it to the Xnest session and basically do a GUI for that Synaptic session. So that's pretty cool. And then apt-tac xapian.index allows Synaptic to basically do an auto search functionality rather than manually having to click search each and every time you want to do a package type. Okay, this is the basest core system. Now, on top of that, we're going to do SLIN, and for me, since this is a quick build, I'm going to do PEKWM. Okay, Slim is the login manager. I highly recommend using Slim because it has no other dependencies other than itself really, and some maybe, you know, GTK dependencies, but otherwise it's not dependent upon core file systems such as like KDEs or gnomes or mates, etc. It's a standalone login manager. You can use the shell as well if you'd prefer, but Slim is the best, and I just highly recommend using it. PEKWM is my window management system. You can do something like you could do mate core, mate tac core, or KDE tac core, etc. to type in for your core system components. I'm just going to use PEKWM because it's the easiest. You can do things like OpenBox as well, or Sawfish, but this is what we're going to use. Okay, so go ahead and click Enter. And actually, one more thing that I'm going to go through and quickly before I actually run that, I'm going to type in Midori, Midori. That's just because I want to show you guys. Well, actually, I should show you one more other thing. You're going to want to get sound systems. So, PEKWM, Midori, PULSE, Pulse, AUDIO. You're going to need Pulse Audio, and ALSA, I think bass, also bass. Okay? And then PAVUCONTROL. I think it's PAVU control. PAVU control. Okay, and PAVU control. PAVU control allow you to manage the sound systems. Pulse Audio and also bass are the audio systems themselves, and that will allow you to have an actual audio environment and audio control mechanisms for that. Okay, and then you're good to go. Press Y for enter, and then continue. Now I should we'll worry about that in a little bit. This will take some time, so I'm just going to go ahead and let that run. While it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and just talk to you guys about window managers and iCandy. So, this is an excellent website. It's called xwinman.org, short for xwindowmanagers.org. Basically, this is a site that tells you all the types of window management systems that are out there. Okay, these are some of the highly regarded ones that are currently immediately on the home page. I highly suggest you guys look into it. You can click on the far left others, and it'll give you basically a complete list, more or less complete list, of all the available window managers that are out there. Need to warn you guys that most of these window management systems are tiling window managers. Okay, so that's just forewarning. Tiling window managers are basically window managers that are heavily keyboard oriented rather than graphically oriented. It's more like almost having multiple shells, and you can open up multiple shell systems which then contain themselves and structure themselves around one another. So that's a forewarning, but you can look up further information on that. But yeah, so this is a really good website. I will provide all links that I'm showing you today in the description below, or wherever the description may lie in the future. Okay, so here another website to look into is gnome-look.org. This has got things like icons. You can do things like paper icons. This looks pretty legit. I'm kind of curious now. It's kind of pretty icon set. Oh, okay, I'm going to look into that. You can actually, I'll go ahead and download that, but I'm not going to download it for the system. I'm just going to download that for personal use. Paper theme. Ooh. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save the file. I'm going to look into their themes too, which actually will present me to another point that we're going to talk about while we have these programs installing, okay? And that is important directory structures within your ISO, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just go back to the home for this. Okay, so this is something important to note. I'm going to show you guys some directories that you're going to want to look into. First and foremost is probably settings for your home, okay? I'm going to quickly look in here. Okay, good. Nothing in there. Good. First and foremost, Skel, or Etsy. So go to Etsy and then type in SKEL, and that's short for skeleton. The Skel directory is the directory that handles default settings for your user profiles when you generate them. So this is where you'll store, for instance, your config folder for maybe managing how GIMP opens, or maybe managing how the shell will handle, right? This is where you're going to put your settings, defaults, okay? You can put a lot of stuff here. So you can just go in your host system, you can simply go to your home directory, type in to your file manager .config, and then press enter, and you can copy all those config files over to this Skel directory, okay, if you want to. I don't recommend doing that just because there are plenty of config files that you don't need to keep, but, you know, it's definitely worth mentioning, okay? The next thing is user share, okay? So if I go to the USR, I'm not high enough. Actually, one other thing to mention quickly, too, is the cron, CRON. So let's say you want to have daily updates. You can use a cron task and a shell script to do that. So look into cron, do some research on it. It may be useful for you guys to look into. Okay. The next thing to look into when you're modifying your Ubuntu system is user USR share. Okay, and this is the directory that has themes and icons. Those folders, the theme folder and the icon folder, okay, as well as applications folder. So if you look over here, I have the applications folder. The applications folder is an important folder for managing your application listing. If I go ahead and up to the top right and I click on it, I have applications that are listed here. So I can do things like, I could change how calculator is listed outwards. I could move it to a different selection, okay? So for instance, if I were to click on PAVU control, right, and then I were to open with, I'm not going to be able to edit it or save it. I can edit it, but I can't save it because I'm not using super user commands to do so. But I can open it within Atom, and from there, I'm just going to show you some of the structures of the standard .desktop command. If it so would like to desire and grace me with its lovely presence. Okay, it's not going to do it that way, I don't think. I may need to do an xkill for this. You can do an xkill. Error. Editor is not responding. Close. We're going to close it. we're going to open the editor just by default generic. Okay, and then from there, I'm going to just do, let's say, synaptic. Open Atom. And sends it to Atom. Okay, so this is basically a default setup for a .desktop icon, and this is, like I said, this is where you can find your commands, and this is where your menu is generated from, okay, or this is how your menu structure is generated. It's important to note, I'm going to go ahead and hide this shelled environment there. It's important to note some of the things here. So first off, you can change the name that's displayed. You can also change the generic name and all that. Comments, blah blah. Most of this is pretty self-explanatory, but you can do things like change the execute method. So let's say you want let's say you want to have a desktop icon that allows you to open VI, right? Well, you can do that by going through and typing exec, VI space %symbol capital F or lowercase f to say open this particular file and folder, right? And that'll go through and allow you to execute that command. And then, of course, you can specify icon types and whether or not it's a terminal and application type, okay? Big thing, and the biggest, and probably the most important is here, categories. This is where you can change where it displays, okay? And you may have to play with this a bit. I'm just going to say, you may have to play with this because of the way it works. But let's say you, for instance, have settings or applications. You could have actually a name that says applications, okay? If you don't want it to display somewhere, you just remove the name from that location. So maybe I don't want, Synaptic to display in systems, but I want it to display in settings. I can do that. You guys get the point, okay? This is where you're going to edit that. Alright. The next thing to take note of, and I'm going to keep that open for now. Next thing to take note of is the icons. If I type in ICONS, we have the icons folder. So this is where basically it becomes useful to use your build items. So I have, for instance, to root or user share, I have my icons and my themes, okay? And these folders contain my icon themes and my folder themes, okay? So I can go through and just do whatever I need to do, copy them over to their respective folders, or rather just delete the ones and overwrite them. But and that's what you'll do, is you'll type in sudo your file manager name and then just copy and paste it over to the icons folder or the themes folder, okay? If I type in THEMES, you'll see here we have default, Emacs, and Raleigh, okay? But you can copy over the stuff. One other thing that may be of worth is wallpapers, WALP. Certain distributions will present you the wallpapers folder, okay? And that's where obviously where your wallpaper structure is going to be. So maybe you're using the mate environment and you want to set a different wallpaper by default. You can do so by going to the wallpaper section. I believe it was anyway. I'm pretty certain it is. Yeah, I'm pretty certain it is. Yep. And yeah, that's basically it. I mean, those are the core file systems that you'll want to be working with. One other thing that you may want to work with is the boot. Okay, if you go to boot, and you can change the grub screen. So you could change the grub screen to look like a different thing. So that's the grub screen is where you start up your system and it shows you the list of drives and versions of Ubuntu you have and Windows if you have it installed sideways, etc. You guys get my point. You can edit the grub settings here. Okay. Last thing I think to take any note of. I don't think so. No, that's it. Those are the main important ones. Are these folders? Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to open up the shell script. Good. Now it's done. And we've done. Now type in apt-get dist dist tech upgrad dist upgrade. Or dist control dist tech upgrade. What this will do, this is something important to note. You may not want to run dist upgrade as a command when you have a full fleshed out system, because it may remove programs that other programs need. This upgrade is a little bit more aggressive in that way. So because we're in a base system install and we don't have really any packages installed other than a couple of things that I told you guys to install, running dist upgrade is going to be the best way because it's going to update your kernels and it's going to do all the other necessary things. Okay, so just go ahead and type in Y for enter, and it's going to go through and begin the installation process for that. Now, just quickly mention here, I'll open up another terminal here. I'm going to just sudo rm file system.squashfs. I don't need the file system.squashfs, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that one. Okay. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about where you can go through and how you can do a display after this does its upgrade. I'm going to tell you guys how to kind of do the display process within Xnest. This is really helpful for really just being able to use Synaptic to go through and select your packages rather than manually having to type out each command for whatever you want to install. So for instance, instead of having to do sudo apt-get install Firefox or apt-get install Firefox or I don't know, VLC, you can type it into Synaptic, and that makes it a little bit easier for the newcomer and less uninitiated and those who have not really, you know, remembered all the program names and their necessary instructions and all that. Okay, Synaptic is a little bit better for doing that, so I'm going to show you guys how to set that up in a moment here. It's going to still take a moment to generate all of that. Also, Synaptic is going to be important for doing this visually. Instead of having to type out a command that's really long and ugly to clear out all the kernel types, we're going to use Synaptic to clean up the kernels, the unnecessary and old and deprecated kernels, when we get into Synaptic. It's going to be easier than a particular command that I would normally use, just because, yeah, it's a stupidly long command, and I don't want to have to copy and paste it in, or well, I don't want to have to type it out so that you guys can see it, and copying and pasting it is just too much of a hassle, and you know, it's not necessary when we just use Synaptic to do a good chunk of the cleanup process. So we're going to do that in a moment. And now I'm just waiting for basically this to go through and complete the process of, you know, unpacking the rest of this file systems and types. Excuse me. Now, one thing I'm going to talk after we go through and use the Synaptic thing, I'm going to show you guys, actually not here, but in the ISO. So the things what we're going to do once we get the squashfs or the root system or the file system updated and done what we want to do with it, right? What we're going to do is we're going to be doing a couple of things. First off, we're going to need to update the SHA-256 sums information. We're going to need to go through and update the file system.manifest information, and we're going to need to go through and update the file system.size information, as well as we need to recopy over the squashfs file system. Okay. While we're doing that, waiting for that to install, I'm going to show you guys about ISO Linux. Here is where you can modify the boot protocol process for your system. Okay, so let's say you don't want to have Ubuntu. I mean, the purple's okay, but let's say you don't want to have the Ubuntu logo, right? If you scroll all the way down, you have the splash. You can get rid of that, and you can get rid of that. Or, frankly, you can't really get rid of that. You need to edit that. That's what I really should say. You need to edit that, and that's what you can do. So we can do. You will edit these to suit what you want. Okay. Then there's another thing here, text config. If I go ahead and open that up. You want to edit text.config because what it does is it has information regarding the menu selection. So when you boot up Ubuntu, you generally see something like try Ubuntu out before installing, install Ubuntu. To edit that information, you're going to open up text.config or CFG and edit menu label boot from first hard disk, or try Ubuntu without installing, or you know, you'll edit it, instead of saying Ubuntu, you'll say, you know, Lenny's OS or something like that. I don't know what you guys' OS is going to be called, but you get my point. You can change the naming schemes here. Okay, that's just something of significance to note. We gotta re-shrink that. We should be nearing the end of this update process. I think I'm seeing, yep, okay, cool. Now, what we can do, I'm going to type in pecwm. We can actually go through and check out your file system thing. So for instance, if you're using mate, you could type in Marco, and Marco would be your window management system. But pecwm is here. I can right click and do all the necessary things that I want to do. I can go ahead and I'm going to do, let's see, sound, system, graphics, accessibilities, system, hardware, nope, applications, nope. Why did it go away? Okay, I think it's package management. Yeah, I'm going to do Synaptic Package Manager here. Okay. And error 32, error no such file directory. Okay, so you won't be able to run using pecwm and then run Synaptic Package Manager, which is okay, but I can go Control-C that, Control-list that. What I'm going to do is synapt, Synaptic. Okay, synapt-ic. And this will allow you to go through and run Synaptic within the Xnest. Okay? Then click on Status, click on Auto Removable, and just do Control-A when you highlight one and mark for complete removal. And then just click Apply. This is going to clean up your system and remove some of the bloat that will have, that came from doing the package installation process. Okay, and it'll take a moment or two, and probably it's a little weird and wonky, but it may crash. The Synaptic may crash, which is okay. We see that it is being updated here, which is excellent. Good. Okay. And now, yep, you see that it kind of did crash, but you can use this. Okay. Very much like just basically to go through and do an installation process. So you can think close. I can it's a little hard to work with just because it is a little bit tinier, but you can move this down. You could type in, for instance, Firefox, right? And boom, you could then double click on Firefox and you'd be good to go to install it. Okay, so this is why you would want to use Xnest. I'm gonna go ahead and click quit, and I'm actually just gonna I want to make sure that's properly closed out. Good. I'm going to close Xnest now since I don't have any use for it. Good. Okay. At this point, we've done a pretty good chunk of the system cleaning, and we're pretty much ready to begin the process of making our ISO. So let's just finish up the rest of the system cleaning. I'm going to do apt-get autoremove tac-purge. Okay. And then auto clean. And then rm tmp tab to autocomplete star to mean wildcard everything. So rm temp /star. ls could do rm tech rf temp. Yeah, that may have been, yeah, recursive. rm tech rf, sorry. And then you're pretty much good to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to unmount the connections through here, basically. And we're going to just, basically do umount tech lf and then dev / sys, which basically is probably going to say it's not mounted, and proc / okay, and then we're going to just type in exit, okay, and then we're going to just rerun the command sudo umount tech lf dev / and our password. Good, it says it's not mounted, which is good. proc / says not mounted, which is good, and sys / which is not mounted. Good. Just always make sure that they are properly unmounted, just because you don't want to copy over your system files when you're generating the ISO. Awesome. So cd dot dot, excuse me, dot dot, okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go through and do sudo squ tab to autocomplete, and then also before you do that, mksq tab to autocomplete. So sudo make squashfs root tech comp xz, okay, and then actually right before that you need to do filesystem dot squashfs. So sudo make squashfs your squashfs root directory, filesystem.squashfs, and then tech comp xz. xz is the compression type. This is the best type of compression. Okay, press enter and let it go through and do the compression process. Okay, it's going to take a bit, depending on your disk speed. It could be a lot quicker. You know, I do have an SSD, but I'm working through my HDD, and my HDD is 7200 RPM speed, so it's not slow, but it's not fast. So it is what it is. Now we're just generating the file system squashfs. Okay. While we're doing that, we can actually go ahead and we can do at least one thing. Oh, so open up another terminal. Okay. Control Shift Plus I'm doing this for you guys, so that you can see what I'm going to be typing in here. And then I'm going to type in EASH, just to make sure I'm in proper terminal environment. I'm using fish shell, and so don't want to use that currently. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to basically update the squashfs or the file system.size information. So if I go ahead and do, not here, if I go ahead and do ISO Casper file system.size open, and I click on with Atom, alright, I can go ahead and you guys see the number, which is 96287. Okay, we're going to update the file system squash file information. To do this, what we're going to do is oh gosh, I'm completely forgetting the name, and quite frankly I need to find, I'm going to copy and paste this command because it's way too long. This is why I have my notes, because this is just not sensible to do. So give me a second here. I have it here somewhere. Put in script, make squashfs, did that already. Printf techsx, copy that. I'm going to put parentheses around this so that I can not have it execute. Control Shift V, Control C, Control L. Just clear that out. This is Control U. This is the command that you're going to want to use, and I may need to actually Control minus probably for you guys. It's not going to redo it. Okay. Okay. So your command that you're going to type in is printf $ parentheses sudo du tech sx space tech block tech size equals 1 squashfs tech root, which is the directory that we're working from. So that's important. I would recommend you guys doing this exactly the way I've done it for the directory structure. But if you haven't, you'll do you'll do whatever your squashfs location is. But mine is squashfs tech root. Pipe it to cut tech f1, end parenthesis, and then greater than symbol ISO Casper file system.size. Remember that file system.size here is 9628. So when we execute this, it's going to get updated. I'm going to type in my password. And it is saying permission denied, which means we need to change the system to be right permissioned. Okay. To do that, you'll do sudo chmod 644 ISO CASPER, and then file tab to autocomplete SIZE tab to tab to autocomplete, file system.size, so chmod 644. By the way, file system.size is 444, which means it's just only read-only, okay? And then run the previous command again. You will see now in my text editor, it's now 1854 instead of the 9, whatever it was, okay? Go back up and use your command again, type it as 444. Okay, so sudo chmod 444. Good. Now that the squashfs has been created, we're going to do sudo mv file system.squashfs to iso casper, and then that's it. Type it in, type in your password if necessary, and that'll move your new squashfs to your ISO directory structure. Okay. What we now have left to do is we have to update the manifest files right here, these two, and we need to update the SHA-256 sums information. These commands I'm just going to copy and paste from my thing, and you guys will have to go through and just pause the video. And I say pause the video, and the reason why I tell you guys to pause the video is because this will give you a good instance to actually copy the command over and probably to a shell script and put it into your file system or build items folder. Okay, that's what I'm recommending you guys do. That's why I'm having you guys do this. It is also because I'm lazy. I do not want to have to copy and paste this into my description box. That too. Quite frankly, that's the biggest reason. But it's still important for you guys, I think, to set up a build items directory, so this will give you reason to do so. So, we're going to make, we're going to now update the squashfs information, or I'm sorry, not the squashfs. We're going to now write the, we're going to now recreate the manifest system, okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and copy this command over, do Control-L, put parentheses around this, and then Control-Shift-V. It's great, I don't care. Remove this. And then do Control-U. And here's the thing. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up again. Just make sure that it does. I highly recommend you open these files with a text editor that automatically updates itself if you edit something like randomly from like the system. And this is why I use I'm using Atom text editor. Atom will auto update when some change has been made to the file externally, which is good because it helps me know that I have made the changes. You do need to make sure that the changes are written. Okay, so if I do sudo chroot squash, and here's the command. As you will see, I'm going to highlight it for you guys. You can pause the video and type it out. That's a text show format equals single quotation marks, $ package in the brackets, and then space $ brackets version capital V \n end single quote space pipe sudo t iso casper file system .manifest. Okay. Good. So to do something, I recommend you guys may have seen that the Atom text editor updated itself automatically. If I do a Control F and type in Midori, or I think I did Midori. Yeah, I did Midori. Yeah, Midori was not formerly there. So if I do Midori, if you search for a file in your in the manifest, that will help you, figure out if it has been edited properly, and it has been edited properly, which is good. Okay. The next command we're going to do is we're going to we're going to basically write this to a manifest-desktop directory information. We're going to do a quotations again to V, Control-L, in that. See, this is why you'd want to do a shell script, because here's the thing. Many of the commands that I committed or did, for instance, the mount commands, right? The Chroot squashfs, all of that, quite frankly, you could set up in a shell script. Even the Chroot itself, you could just set up in a shell script. And so once you exit the Chroot and you're done with the Chroot, it could auto-execute the remainder of the processes that you need to do, which is actually pretty cool, and I think I'm going to do that. I should have done that. Anyway, so do, sudo cp tag v, ISO Casper file system, tag v I believe means to maintain version. So as you'll see here, sudo cp tag v ISO Casper file systems.manifest, and it's just literally copying it to manifest tag desktop, okay? By the way, guys, if you guys think my voice is sounding different, it is. It's because it's a little bit sore and raspy from doing this video multiple times, so I do apologize if I do sound a little worse for the wear. Anyway, just press enter, and you should now see a manifest tag desktop file. We've already updated the file system.size. The last thing we need to do before we generate our ISO is, well, actually a couple of things. We need a couple more things. And that is we need to actually edit the manifest desktop. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do nano tmp.sh. Okay. Control Shift V. Here's the thing. And I did not copy that over proper. Copy. Don't look at that. Don't look. It's all bad. Control V. So, I'm gonna okay. If I do, I'm gonna try to see if we can minus this a little bit for you guys. Good. Okay. So, as you see here, we have. That's not that. We have remove. Capital R, you can change this name, quite frankly, to something like R. You could just literally change this to R, and then be, $R. Don't recommend it, or at least I don't recommend just a single character. You could do RO, maybe, like that, and that'd be okay. But what you're doing is you're removing from the manifest.desktop this information. So live init rmffs, Casper, etc. So if I go ahead and open up file system.manifest with Atom, I have it. I can do a search, or I can just kind of probably find it here. Casper. We're going to be removing Casper. You'll see this disappear on line 28. Okay. So what we're doing is you're going to just need to type all of this in. I'm going to highlight this better so that you guys can read it. Okay. I have RO. You can do whatever variable types you want to do, but RO is going to be this one. Single quotation marks, and then this list of options. And discover 1, xres probe, os prober, lib debian installer 4, etc. Okay? Type that in. You can pause the video into a shell script. And you can also copy that shell script over to your build items folder. Okay? Do a Control O, enter, Control X, and then type in bash tmp tab to autocomplete. The reason why I'm typing in bash temp.shell is that I don't want to have to mark it executable. If I type in bash, it will automatically know to make it, to run those commands. So that's why I'm doing bash instead of doing chmod, +x, and then blank. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah. Bash temp shell. We should see, yep, line 28, the Casper file system information is gone. I think well, yeah. But anyway. Now, I'm going to go ahead and double check the command for that. I'm going to double check the desktop thing. So, ls tech aliso caspr. I'm just looking at file manifest desktop rrr. Good. I just want to make sure that it, yeah. Excellent. Good. I'm going to go ahead and go close these in bits here. Now, what we're going to do is generate the sum, or the SHA sums, okay? So we're going to go ahead and click on, I'm going to open this up in Atom so that you guys will see that the changes are made, and remember, you want to make sure that the changes are made, otherwise you will have issues booting into your system. So we have our SHA sums. We're going to see that this part disappears, okay? Which is okay. We don't need to worry about it. This is another command that you're going to have to just pause the video for, okay? And let's do here. copy. Let's just do, we're going to just do Control L. So I'm going to actually hide that. Okay, so just do sudo tac-s. Okay, I'm going to put that V, Control L. Do that. Boom. So CD. So highlight this for you guys. CD ISO ampersand find dot tac type F tac print. F means file, by the way. Zargs pipe it to it's piping to zargs tac 0 MD5 sum pipe to grep tac V quotation marks backslash dot / MD5 sum dot txt greater than SHA-256 sums, capitalized. And if we look at the sums, we'll see that it changed right there. It's no longer presenting the former stuff, which is good. Good. We are now ready to, by the way, type exit. Okay. We are now ready to go through and generate our ISO image. This one is, again, something you guys are just going to have to copy. I'm going to Control-Shift zoom in this a little bit more because I think, you know, it's going to be a little bit better to see it zoomed in. Control-V, Control-L. Okay. Get rid of the quotation marks. So, CD ampersand sudo make ISO file system tac-d tac-r tac-hash and nodes inodes, and I'll actually even highlight that. Whoop. Let's just highlight the command. That way you guys can read it better. This is the command. You have, remember, at the very corner here you have so isolinux / isolinux.bin tac-c for the bootcat, isolinux / boot.cat, no emulation boot, bootload size 4, boot info table, tac-o, etc. Okay, and then .dat, mine is sol-os version 3. Right here, you're going to just change the name to whatever you're naming your ISO, okay? And then don't forget the very end period. There's a period right after the ISO name, okay? And then press, pause the video and type that in. I will re-highlight for you guys. I'm not gonna type it out. Shit, I typed it out once. I'm not doing it again. That's why I have my build items directory. Okay. Press enter. It's gonna go. I messed something up. Oh no! What happened? Why did that? Oh, okay. Son of a corgi. Some bullshit reason, my squashfs system, or my terminal decided to put me elsewhere in my home directory instead. That's delightful. Nope, come on, extend, be nice. Por favor, me gusta. My god, for the love of shit. Oh, let me, god, I can't, fucking grab that goddamn shit. Holy fuck, I swear. Okay, there we go. Jesus. Oh, jeez. The horror. Plus, BASH for my bash shell. Control L. Okay. Re-highlight that for you guys. I'm in my build environments directory, not in the ISO Linux directory, not in the ISO directory, okay? So CD, oh, there's also, oh no, I know why I did that. Boy, I'm a retard. You kind of might want to should say ISO, CD, ISO, you can do a /, that's okay. Either or, I'm going to do / CD, ISO / ampersand, sudo, make ISO file system, and then, you know, the rest of it. By the way, I'm going to re-highlight this so that you can fucking type it in. Remember this period at the very end of that ISO statement. Okay. I'm typing my password. It's going to generate my ISO. Now we are good to go to, well, test. So, go ahead and open up my system tools. I'm going to go through and open up my Oracle VirtualBox. I have actually a section set. Solus version 3, good, okay. I have one already pre-set up for me to start. And if all is well, and is as I expected, we will be trying Ubuntu, even though it should be changed. I should have changed it, but whatever. Point being, if all goes well, I will boot into a slim login manager and be able to type in Ubuntu and be done with it. I can press on the up arrow key to see the boot information. Generation complete Chroot can't execute glib, compile schemas, no file directories, grep root, cd-roms, mounted, starts. This is looking better. Up. Yes, this is what I was expecting. Good. Yeah, you're going to need to change out some of the Slim themes. You can find Slim themes online. I just was building this distribution for the quickness. Okay, to test your distribution, at least within an Ubuntu system, you can type in Ubuntu, Ubuntu. The password, there is none. Just press enter, and you can log in. And I right-click, and I have my PECWM information. I have my applications. I can look for network, probably. Oh boy, big thing to mention, by the way, guys, which may or may not be important, but it's going to probably be important. You need, before you build your ISO, you need to remove the etc resolve conf. Now, yeah, I've done goofed. Yeah, you're gonna need to remove the etc resolve conf. So, you know, when you're in the Chroot environment, just do, right after you're done with all your stuff and unmounting the file systems, just say rm etc /resolv.conf, and that would be okay. Okay, you'll be set. And now obviously clear out your temp file, remove all the old kernels. I forgot to mention that, and I should have. I apologize. I completely forgot about it. But that's important because you don't want to have the system trying to connect, because it won't connect to the internet properly. Is essentially what will happen. So yeah. 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 But anyway, I have no internet connection, but you guys do see that I have my PECWM distribution. I can check my themes. I can do a different theme because I installed themes.